President Trump will host the 2020 G7 summit at one of his own resorts. Robert Frank has more on the story. How are you?
I'm good, Joe. This is going to be good. Now, of all President Trump's properties, Trump National Doral, Miami, is the biggest moneymaker by far, more than twice the revenue of his Washington hotel and nearly 4 times that of Mar-a-Lago. Those two get a lot more attention. Doral's revenue was $76 million last year. That's flat from 2017. That's according to federal disclosure filings. But revenues have fallen by more than a third since 2016. Now, Trump bought the 650-acre property near the Miami airport out of bankruptcy in 2012 for about $150 million. He borrowed $125 million from Deutsche Bank and planned extensive renovations. Now, it has 643 rooms and a golf course nicknamed the Blue Monster, which Joe loves. That used to host a PGA tournament until that was pulled in 2016. Now, the Trump organization is saying, we are excited to have been asked to host the 2020 G7 summit at Trump National Doral. But the company did not comment on Doral's current financials. Now, White House Acting Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney saying yesterday the resort was chosen after a nationwide search, and the summit will be done, quote, at cost, so the president will not profit. Now, June in Miami, of course, is a slow month, off-season there, with Doral's occupancy rates often below 40%. One potential problem that's been overlooked, Doral only has 2 presidential suites, and you've got 7 heads of state, so where does Putin stay? If Macron it's going to be, it's going to be tricky.
Those guys argue about who gets the best room.
Oh, of course they do. And they're going to now call the president to ask for the better room.
Exactly. All right, before we get into a big argument, we have a solution, do we not? All of us have come up.
We have a
Sea Island.
Sea Island.
Sea Island.
Sea Island.
Go back to Sea Island. That's
which is where they had it.
They had it before, and that all the problems would go away.
And also solve the security.
And in terms of disclosure, I have played the Blue Monster. I like it, and I told these guys earlier, with Dick Anderson, the great Miami Dolphin. Remember him? Great guy, great golfer. He was on the team that went undefeated that year. I think the last time it's happened. Yeah, under the shoe.
Barry, you're a great hotel.
You're the Blue Monster School.
You're in Miami. 2 questions for you. One, is this a good venue relative to all the venues in the United States? And secondly, it is very close to it is very close to the Miami airport. How do you operate a commercial airport given the security perimeter
that you need to the Miami airport
that you need for the? I mean, it feels like you're landing on the golf course when you land in Miami. So you know Miami. Logistically, what's that going to be like?
Walter?
You know what it's going to be like.
I mean, it's easy access to the airport, I suppose, but I hadn't even thought about the security issues.
You haven't used that airport in 30 years.
That's why Sea Island being... no, I do. The private terminal.
Oh, the private.
That's the other side of the airport. It is an issue. Sea Island doesn't have that issue. I mean, it's difficult to access, so it's better security. And we used to own Sea Island, so I'm plugging for Phil Anschutz right now, and now owns it. But I think there are a lot of places like the Broadmoor and other areas that probably are fantastic locations. The Homestead in Virginia? Those are really great places for an event. I mean, Miami's very dense, and that is a very dense area of Florida.
Walter's here.
Walter's here.
The emoluments. This is a clear. It's glaring, and you don't have to make a profit to be sort of going against the grain of what our forefathers put that clause in there for. This reeks and looks bad. It looks like self-dealing, and whether it is or not, I would urge him to reconsider.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. The founders put in the emoluments clause. There are 2 of them.
Right.
The foreign one, but there's even the president. You don't need to make a profit or anything. And even poor Ben Franklin, when he came back from England and he was trying to do his expenses, they were checking it out. They just wanted to make sure that it never smelled like people were profiting. And it's the president in particular that's in the Constitution that you don't want that. Why does he need to do this? I mean, this is ridiculous.
Isn't there a second clause, though, that says the president can't derive any salary or benefit?
Yeah, that's what I meant by the presidential or domestic emoluments clause.
So that's a second. There's the emoluments clause.
That's the one. Yeah, the one in Article 2 is the one you're talking about, which goes directly to the president. But you don't need to read the Constitution to know this smells like high heaven.
And he doesn't need to do it because his properties are down in value. He is not being enriched by being president. He's probably losing money. And Biden did get enriched, and Obama did get enriched, and the Clintons did get enriched. He made it. No, it's not. And so he doesn't need to do this.
Scotland resort.
It's a stupid move.
And he does it every weekend.
Doesn't need to do it.
And it's part of a pattern that I find almost reality TV astonishing, which is he does things and they're just so openly and brazen. Like yesterday, Mick Mulvaney comes out and says, yeah, there was a quid pro quo. Or, you know, he'll just
He was saying that policies
everything.
in the past with administrations, that aid has been tied to policies. And in this case, it was a corruption policy, which included looking for the server in the Ukraine.
All I'm saying is that whenever he gets something, he just says, okay, you think I asked Ukraine to do something? I'll publicly ask China to do something.
Remember,
I mean, it's just weird.
Remember when Trump put everything in a trust and he had those big stacks of papers that showed how separate it was going to be? Eric Trump came out that day and said, we will never mix business, our business, with government.
Right.
We will never do that.
And here we are. So,
and by the way, that's why a lot of people voted for Trump. They felt the whole thing was a swamp in Washington.
Right.
There was a whole lot of self-dealing. I know people on this panel who felt that way. Why would Trump go there if this is why his...
Well, let me turn it around.
Go ahead,
just to say, I'm not sure that Trump supporters, people who are part of his base...
No, they like this.
...look at this, even those who voted for him saying they wanted to get rid of the swamp, and say somehow I can't vote for him anymore because of it.
Okay, all I can say is what I feel.
Thumbing your nose
like it
No.
stinks.
By the way, I think it stinks too. I think actually most people on this panel think it stinks.
Is this a panel?
Yeah, but we don't have to go around, you know, trying to take everybody's temperature. I think if people think about it,
No, but
say,
there's
hey, he's
also
self-dealing.
there is an appeal, and I have to admit it to some extent that he doesn't care what people in the mainstream media are going to say about it. And there's times when that's a benefit, and there's times when it's not. And he almost is like, really, come get. And there's times when that's
I agree, and
there are
that's
times
what
when
he's
that's
doing
appealing,
now.
and there's times where it's just stupid.
Did you read Admiral McRaven today in the New York Times?
In the where?
New York,
I don't think I read that. No, probably
well,
not.
You may
Probably,
think Admiral McRaven is a left-wing American
I read that
person.
online.
Yeah.
And he said the same thing a year ago. He said,
but it was a lot stronger now.
This is about Syria, but it was, I know.
No, but it was also about a Republican four-star general just grabbing McRaven, the admiral, by the arm and saying, Trump is leading us into real trouble here.
I saw it, but the same thing. This is a guy who his hair was
Admiral
on fire a year ago.
McRaven, you know
he
him,
was.
we know him. He's not some left-wing.
I'm not saying he was, but this isn't the first time he said
but
things
I'm just saying
as
that to Andrew's point, more and more people, I think, are saying, wait a minute, enough's enough. Enough's enough. This was kind of fun. And
you know
it was
what?
A nice
Okay, but can I ask a
show.
separate question?
He doesn't need to lose all his followers.
And
right?
but let me ask you a separate
By
question.
80,000
Yeah,
votes.
he needs to lose 5% of his
This goes
followers.
back to what Barry was talking about, though. Given the polarization of even the Democratic Party, which is itself split in many ways, do you think that this kind of thing changes the dynamic such that actually it benefits the Democrats in some kind of meaningful way? Because I think there's a lot of people on the other side.
A good Democratic candidate could use this very effectively.
I think if I were a Democrat running, I would put in the top three things. You talk about the economy, but you talk about corruption. You say, hey, we don't like all this self-dealing, this mess. And I think it's going to be hard for some Democrats.
Do you think Democrats can run on the economy?
No, I think it's going to be a problem. I'm saying that most people care about jobs and the economy.
I'll disagree with you guys. I think they can, in the sense that we're running $1 trillion deficit, and we haven't.
It's kind of hard to make that case.
No, I mean you're just. I guess so, but there's a price to pay for
this. But can't we litigate this in a little over a year? We can litigate that. We can litigate quid pro quo. We
should litigate it starting here.
No,
on this
but
panel.
we'll litigate. There will be a vote coming, and anyone that doesn't like Doral, anyone that doesn't like any of this stuff, they can vote.
Let me ask you a
in
separate
November.
question just about.